We are live, everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those joining for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Today's session is a little bit of all three. It's pretty exciting, and we're joined live all the way from the UK by Charlotte Austwick. So she is an anthropologist, an archaeologist, and filmmaker. She was set to go on an expedition to Bolivia, which unfortunately, amidst all this madness, has been canceled or postponed for the time being, but she's going to share a little bit about her current adventures and some of the things she's done in the past. So I want to read this in full because it's so cool. So she recently returned from the jungles of Central America, where she was living and filming with a Mayan community to produce educational resources in their native language, explore the surrounding jungle for ancient Mayan archaeology, and deliver dental hygiene workshops. So in short, Charlotte is one of those people that packs more into a week than most of us do into an entire year. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to her to blow our minds with all the cool stuff she gets to do. Thank you so much for joining us, Charlotte, and take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Charlotte and I'm here currently not from the Bolivian jungles but from my lovely kitchen here in the yes, I was hoping to talk to you from Bolivia today, but I'm going to talk to you all about my journey to become an explorer, and also my recent expedition to the jungles of Central America. Yeah, so if I tell you a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, go for
it. So when I was 18, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I went and studied classical archaeology and drama, keeping my options wide open. And then when I left, I thought, what can I do? What can I do that's really different? So I saved up my money and did lots of fundraising, and I went on an expedition to the Arctic Circle with the British Exploring Society. So here I have some pictures of that event that I'm going to share with you. There we go. Yeah, so I was 21 years old, and went off, and these pictures here, so we've got one in the top corner. I'd actually injured my foot, so I wasn't able to walk, and so that's the glacier behind me. So whilst I was sitting there, everybody went off on the glacier. This is my team that I went with, and till this day, I still remember the kindness that they gave me. And down here, so part of the expedition was to help collect data for climate change, and so that's exactly what we did. So here we're taking samples from the ocean, and then this one down here is just of me actually on the glacier, and my foot got a lot better. So I wanted to share that with you because that was really my first experience. And I'm just gonna go back now. There we go. So that was my real first experience of exploration, and I decided that I wanted more. So what I did is I went back to university and I studied social anthropology, specializing in visual anthropology. And what that means is it's the study of cultures. So anthropology is the study of cultures and societies, but I specialized with a special filmmaking element within it. And so that is kind of where my I guess my real adventure begins. So I included my interest in archaeology and anthropology together, and at the age of 23 I went off to the Central American jungles by myself, solo, and I went and stayed with the Maya community in order to find out what meaning do the archaeological sites of Belize hold for the Maya community of today. And that was my real adventure. So I'm going to show these photos with you now of this time I was in the jungle. There we go. So these pictures were taken from my first time in Belize. So up here we have an example of some reconstruction of ancient Maya archaeology. In this top corner is 2 children from one of the homestay families I stayed with. In this bottom picture here, that's me with another homestay family. And then this picture here is when I went with a teenage boy fishing. And so that adventure for me didn't stop there, and I always knew that I'd be back. And so with help from the Scientific Exploration Society, I was named the Rivers Foundation Explorer for Health and Humanities 2019. And with this, I was able to return to that community. And I've just been there in January, and this is where the kind of real excitement begins. So just a little bit of background on who the ancient Maya, so where Central America is, for those of you who don't know. I'm just playing around with my computer. Here we go. So for those of you who don't know, Central America, it lies between North and South America. The countries here, okay, so south of Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Okay, this is all considered Central America. And where I was in this tiny country here called Belize, just down here in the South Toledo district. So all of this is rainforest. So the ancient Maya, who were the people before the modern day Maya that we have today, they lived in this area. So you can see the Yucatan Maya Peninsula, and then we got the down here in Belize and Guatemala, and then just in North Honduras as well. So when I talk about the modern Maya today, there are 3 main types of Maya, and they are Quechua Maya, who originate from Guatemala. There are Yucatec Maya, who originate from Mexico, from the Yucatan Peninsula, and then there are Mopan Maya, who originate from Belize. Okay, so that's important for this. But when I talk about the ancient Maya, I'm talking about the ancestors before about 1539, which was when the Spanish invasions all happened. Okay, so that's the ancient Maya and the modern Maya today. So so the aims of the expedition that I've just been on were to create educational resources in Quechua and Mopan Maya, because their languages are currently on the brink of extinction. So Mopan Maya globally is spoken by approximately 10,000 people in the world, and barely anyone can read it. Quechua Maya is spoken by approximately about 17,000 people in Belize, and fewer people can speak that as well. So the idea is that we are going to try and preserve this language by creating these educational resources for generations to use into the future. But whilst we were there as well, we were also exploring the surrounding area for lost archaeology, and we have an element of health added to the expedition. So we were giving dental hygiene workshops and working with the local community. So what I'm going to show you now is just some footage from our experiences caving in the jungle. One moment.
No worries. And when you're done, you can just stick on screen share, and when you're stuck
Okay.
and come back to you at the very end with Q&A.
So here we go. So this is us trekking through the jungle, and then this is a sinkhole that we found. And we were led to this by the guides, and inside there was ancient Maya pottery. And so this needs obviously a lot more investigation. And this is another cave, which I'll talk about just now.
I can't explain how incredible, how absolutely incredible swimming out into the jungle and just seeing all the green trees and everything on the outside. You really understand why the ancient Maya thought that this was the entrance to Xibalba.
So Xibalba is the name given to the ancient Maya underworld. And this is where they believed all the gods were. And so they used to send in people, used to sacrifice people, they used to send in pots, etc. And so part of my experience whilst I was in Belize was exploring all of these caves in the area to see if it was necessary for an archaeological investigation. So there's a very, very famous cave in Belize, not in the area we were staying in, but it's called Acton Tuchnal Michnau. And that National Geographic named it the most sacred cave in the world in 2019. So this just shows you how important it is. And within this cave, I have some more images of it to share with you. Sorry.
So Charlotte, do stick on screen share. Once you've back to screen share, just stay on the pictures and then we can see the pictures. We'll come back to you at the end so you don't have to transfer every time, okay?
Good.
Perfect.
Good. Okay. Okay, so these are inside ATM. And what these are human sacrifices, which they would have taken into the caves and killed them there and then. So the Maya, these would have been mutilated because they believed that the more bloodshed, the better it was. So these have been preserved here. These have been preserved by the calcite falling down from the caves and turning them actually into crystal. And this one up here is known as the Crystal Maiden, okay, which is very, very famous. However, what we actually know is that it's not a maiden at all, but all the sacrifices inside were male. And they were all about teenage boys aged between about 12 and 18. So we know who they were sacrificing and we know where they were sacrificing them. So they were sacrificing them along the water. So, so where the water came through the cave, they were all found along there. And this was really prominent in the classic period, around 250 to 900 AD, because we believe there was a lot of drought. And so they were going to the gods to help it rain. Okay, and then they have lots of pots down here as well. They are found throughout Belize with remnants of corn, etc. inside of them and incense. So what this picture is, these were our guides. These were our guides for the caves that we went into. There's a flag by the Scientific Exploration Society who helped fund the expedition. But they were absolutely amazing and they helped enormously. So these pictures, as I mentioned before, we were translating. And so whilst we were there, we were asked to translate, create a dictionary, create a Quechua Maya dictionary. So that's what we're doing in this picture. I'm here with a mother and her child creating this dictionary. And because a lot of people worked,
Oh. Charlotte, you've cut out a little bit. Let's see if we can get you back before we continue on. Sorry for the trouble, guys. I know you're bringing projects and programs from around the world. This can happen. So Charlotte, if you can hear me, you can sign out and sign in again. That might make it work for you. Alternatively, oh, she's gone entirely. Okay, so for anyone watching on YouTube, I apologize for this. Again, sometimes bringing programs from the UK or other countries around the world with kids across Canada and the States, people cut out. So I'm going to send Charlotte a quick email, see if we can get her back in, and then we'll be good to go. Again, lots of commentary from Miss, we've got an entire class joining in from Foxborough and in Massachusetts. So Miss Kalada's class, welcome into all you guys, a bunch of other students as well. So let's see if we can get Charlotte back in a second and go from there. All right. Worst case scenario, again, with this, uncertain and trying and interesting times where we're all stuck at home. If you guys do have questions on what we've seen so far, you can pass them to us in an email, and I'll pass it along in the chat bar on YouTube. It's ebtsoyp@gmail.com. So our initials at exploringbytheseat-of-your-pants@gmail.com, and we can pass questions directly to Charlotte. That's worst case scenario. But we're going to see if we can get her back. Give me 2 seconds, quick seconds, and we'll get back. All right. All right, sorry for the trouble again, everyone. For those who are interested, though, again, we did a session just a few minutes ago with Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto. We're doing many more over the coming weeks. So check out on our website and our newsletter, because we've got literally like dozens of sessions in the next few weeks. We're trying to ramp it up to provide more learning opportunities for kids stuck at home. Let's see if we can get Charlotte back. And we've done cultures all over the world. So if you're really keen on things like ancient history and archaeology, we've got Paul Salopek, who joined us earlier today at 9 in the morning, walking around the entire world in the route traced by man as they left out of Africa. So he's currently in Myanmar and touched quite a bit on the COVID crisis around the world too, and ancient pandemics as well. So he was really interesting. And Becca Peixoto, who is joining us live from a cave system near South Africa, where they're talking about Homo naledi and other fantastic ancient hominids, other species that used to lead into man. So if you're keen on this sort of topic generally, lots of stuff we've done in the last few days. I'm going to try and get Charlotte back. Worst case, as I said, I'm going to pass along our email address and our YouTube link right now so that you guys can ask questions and type them in if you are otherwise unable to get this program back on the road. All right, let's see. I'm going to give it a few more minutes and then we'll see how it goes. Sorry for our classes for the trouble. And we'll see. All right. Well, I don't know. One more minute, guys. Give me 2 quick seconds. I'm going to disappear for a second. Thanks for staying on YouTube if you happen to be staying on. We'll give it 1 more minute. If she's not back by then, I'll call it. But please do type in questions. So exploring by the seat of your pants, ebtsoyp@gmail.com. We'll get them to Charlotte as quickly as possible, and we'll get the answers back to you as soon as possible too. So give me 1 quick second. I'm going to disappear. Back in a minute. If she's not back by then, we'll call it. Back, we've got her back. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello. That is a problem living on the top of a Welsh hill.
Yeah.
In a no signal zone. I now got the internet connection via a wire, so we're all good to go.
You're back. See, you got in the nick of time. But anyway, welcome back.
Yeah.
So
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You were showing us your guides. You'd gone in the cave. We'd seen the fantastic preserved people. And talked about human sacrifices, which freaked out all our YouTube viewers. So if you want to wrap up with the last bit of the expedition and do another 5 more minutes or so, and then we'll dive into Q&A.
Perfect.
Come
So
back and share some pictures and we'll go. Thanks for getting back in.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will show you a quick clip of the work that we did in the school whilst we were out there. So we did a lot of work with the school in terms of creating the books that we did. There we go. Okay, so I'll talk over this as it plays. About what we did there. So what we did is we took loads of art materials, so the books, the children and the women in the community themselves could draw the illustrations and paint the illustrations of the stories which we wrote. So the children wrote stories about the community where they're living in, what Maya life was traditionally like, and then we translated these stories into Quechua and Mopan Maya, and they are the ones which are being published. So what you're watching now is us working in the schools doing that. We also did the dental hygiene workshops with the children, and the one we have now is with the youngest children in the school. So that we did that. But what I also wanted to talk to you about was the how the Maya live with the rainforest, and how they how that symbiotic relationship is, because I know there's lots of news about, you know, the rainforest deforestation being destroyed, but it's a very important balance when you're out there. So what we have on the screen right now is we have a house, we have a wooden house. It's made from the trees, from the jungle, and the leaves which you see on it also come from the jungle. So when they build one of these houses, they will get, everyone in the community will come together. It's a very community feel, and they will make this house. So these leaves here normally come from a cahoon tree. Okay, and I actually have some video footage for you now of some women making a fan with a cahoon tree, but it shows you the type of leaves that they would use. Okay, so that's, if you can see that, can you see the man in the climbing the tree?
Yeah.
So they are, especially the men in the village, they are excellent climbers. And I saw that man in the tree and I just had to take it. So what this is, so these women have just cut down this palm leaf, okay, and they're going to be making a fan out of it. But with these leaves that you see here, they also use the heart of this tree to cook and make food with. And a little bit later, I have a picture of what this looks like. And you can see that, like, the machete as well, which was used, both the women and the men used these machetes as tools. And then this is actually the woman in the video making this fan for you. And what they use this fan for is they use it for the stove, for the hearth, for getting it going. And that's me having a go at making the fan. And in my hands, I have the fan. All the way from Belize that I made.
Best souvenir ever.
Yeah, it was good. So this actually apparently isn't as good as hers, shall we say? But yeah, so this is straight from the jungles of Belize with my fan. And so I did also want to talk about their farming and deforestation that they have there. So they have a thing called slash and burn farming, and that is a controlled farming method. That is a controlled farming method where they burn down parts of the rainforest. And I think it's quite difficult for us to sometimes understand why they do this, but it's in their culture to do so. And what happens when you burn parts of the rainforest and the jungle is that it actually fertilizes the soil, and the nutrients from the plants add to it, so it gives it a better crop. But it is controlled the way they do it. However, they are working with modern farming methods in terms of crop rotations and other things that they can do in order to preserve the rainforest as much as possible. So just one last picture for you, which I will share with you using screen share. So this is an image. As I said here, it's called cahoon cabbage for you there. And so that actually comes from the heart of the leaf, and then they add this into their stew. And then, as you've probably noticed, on the other side, this gentleman here is holding an iguana, because it's a delicacy in January, February time of the year, where they eat iguana and eat their eggs as well, and everybody goes hunting, and we were invited iguana hunting as well. They're very self-sufficient people, so they do hunt the animals from the rainforest in terms of their food. They farm and they grow it. So overall, the expedition went really, really well. And we had some fantastic work done by the children and by the community of the village. There's definitely a need for more investigation to be done. And I'm so excited and can't wait to go back there in the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Charlotte, for the presentation. We're coming back in the middle too. That was great. A surprise to keep us going. Again, we've got about 60 people watching from across Canada and the States, a whole classroom in Massachusetts. So welcome to all you guys. So yeah, let's keep it on topic, guys. But for anyone who has questions in the YouTube chat bar, please type them in there. Let me know who's typing in the question, and I'll pass along as many as I can to Charlotte. But I want to kick us off just by saying, so you explored so much of Belize, you had this incredible adventure. Where are some other places you'd love to go to do some of this similar work?
Well, I would love to go to the Amazon, which of course I was going to be at. But yeah, working with the indigenous communities in the Amazon has been a lifelong dream for me. And also in the South Pacific as well, around Fiji. The culture is just amazing, and I'd love to know more.
Yeah, fantastic. Another quick question while we're getting some pouring in. So dental hygiene you talked about is something that you did in these communities. Why dental hygiene specifically? Why is this so important? And for people in Canada and the US, this isn't something that we think about, but why is it so much there?
So on my previous expedition to Belize, I noticed that some of the teeth, shall we say, weren't the same as they are in the Western world. And this is for many different reasons. This is because of the high sugar content in their diet. And also like the grit within like food and grinding and things like that. So it gets into their teeth. But we went back and we offered also biodegradable wooden toothbrushes to the community for everybody who attended the workshops and for the elders of the village, and toothpaste as well. And this was really, really gratefully received by them. And actually their teeth, I've got to say, have far improved since the last time I was there. So they're looking after them really well.
Fantastic. So great to hear that. All right, Charlotte, you've been asked by Miss Collada. Can you tell us in more detail about what your upcoming expedition was set to be and what hopefully will still transpire? What were you going to do?
Okay. So the expedition was a Cotomama expedition up the Rio Beni in Bolivia, and this was going to be led by Colonel John Blashford Snell, who is a very renowned explorer in his own right, and we were going to be out there working with community aid, so helping with education with the local schools, and we were also taking doctors and dentists with us. And on that expedition itself, I was going to be working as the filmmaker.
How cool is that? Thank you so much. We're getting some really thoughtful questions. So for all the students in Massachusetts, thank you so much. These are some really great questions. Hard to pick which one first, actually. So Robbie wants to know, how much training did you do before you start these expeditions?
So a more physical expedition, such as the one in the Arctic, I'd spend a few weeks going to the gym, just preparing like that. But when I was 23 years old and I went straight off to Belize, I don't think I was prepared at all. Didn't know what was going to be ahead of me. But this time I think I'd spent about a year in terms of planning and getting everything in motion for it.
But I like that first message, this idea that you can go without necessarily having a huge background, without having tons of knowledge necessarily, and just dive in and explore. I mean, that's what we're all about here. So
definitely, as long as you've got like a local contact though as well.
Yes, this is the key message of everyone we talk to, is that if you want to do one of these things, work with local communities, work with local groups. It's the fundamental trick for success. All right, Gianna wants to know, is there a specific moment during one of your expeditions that has always stuck with you? No pressure.
That's a really good question. So just then you saw a little bit of me when I'd just come out of a cave, and that moment of when I've swam out of a cave with archaeological artifacts in it, and just being in the world of the ancient Maya, and then you come out and you see this beautiful green rainforest shining at you. It's a phenomenal experience, and I don't think words can explain how amazing it was.
Fantastic. How do you beat that? All right, we've got a group joining all the way from Athens in Greece, actually closer to you than they are to me.
Wow.
They want to know, what do the people grow for a living? So the people, the communities you worked with, what are they growing?
So a lot of the communities are farmers. So they're very self-sufficient. So they grow the food that they need for themselves. And then if they have anything extra, they sell it on. But a lot of men in the village, they tend to work away as well. So there were some people working as tour guides, for example. Tourism is very popular in Belize.
Cool. How neat is that? There's a question we got that I've never gotten in any of our sessions ever before, and I like it a lot. So Una wants to know, what's a common misconception people have about where you visited? So whether that's people at home, and I want to take this too, if you talk to people in Belize, did they have a misconception about people coming over from the UK? Any cultural misunderstandings here?
Well, I think that English is a lot better than people think it is, because I know we are living with a Maya community, but Belize was an part of the English Commonwealth until 1982. So they are actually very, very good at speaking English, and they have to learn it in school. And when we were asking them to write the stories, they were all can we write it in English, because they weren't confident in their Maya. And I think about a misconception of us is that they maybe thought that we had more money than we actually have, and maybe that the UK especially is a little bit more sunny. I had to explain to them that it's quite grey here.
Yes, right. I don't know if that might be the only misconception that they have. The rest of the world knows. With intermittent internet connection as well. All right, we've got a bunch of students asking, how many expeditions have you been on, and how long does one typically last?
So let me think. I say I've been on four or five official expeditions, but then in between that, I've had I've gone to Iceland, for example, for geology, Spain, Italy, etc. And so the one I've just been on lasted about 6 weeks. The one I was going on lasted 3 weeks. And I have ones planned for the future, which are going to be lasting months. So it really varies in terms of the work which you do and where you go.
Yeah, how neat is that? Well, how many months, by the way? Like 2 or 3, or?
I'm thinking 3, thinking the whole summer.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Elena wants to ask a question, which again, I've never seen before and is a great one. I think related to the fact that when you were showing this cave with these human sacrifices, we got a lot of alarm and ire from students. So has traveling opened your eyes to things in the past that you thought were wrong? So whether that's a cultural practice or something that happened?
I don't think I can ever say something is wrong, because they have their own beliefs, and you have to accept where those beliefs and that foundation comes from a culture and society. So the ancient Maya especially, this is what they believed. They believed that in order to get rain to help them with the droughts, the best way of doing this was pleasing the gods by giving them blood. That was what they believed. And nowadays the community is mainly Christian. So it's just fascinating to see. I really like to see how the Maya today and the ancient Maya of the past, how they interlink and relate.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you gave that answer too, because wrong is such a sort of modern judgment towards things that in the past were very normal. There are things today that people 200 years down the road will be aghast at. So I love that message. All right, Kubura wants to know, what's the most difficult part of your expeditions?
So I think it can get quite lonely sometimes when you're living in a community by yourself, and everything's just not quite not quite like it is at home. You can't contact anyone and things like that, so it can get quite lonely. But also recently we got all this freight from the UK, and we managed to get it to the middle of the Central American jungle. It was a logistical nightmare, but I had an incredible team of people helping me, just amazing. I couldn't have done it without them. So that as well.
So this is the challenging part of expeditions. What's the worst thing? And a bunch of students are asking this question. What's the worst thing? Is anything gone terribly, horribly wrong other than a cancellation of an expedition? Did the toilet paper ever run out anywhere? Or...
Oh, I've had some interesting toilet stories. Yeah. So when I was in the Arctic, it was just a dugout trench, and everybody just went and did their business in the dugout trench. We've had a few spiders. We had some maggots whilst we were in Belize. Had some toads. Yeah.
Keeps it exciting.
Yeah.
All right, a question that hasn't been asked yet that I really want to cover is this conserving of languages. So you're working here to make sure that this language doesn't die. Are there other organizations? Like, how is this being collected? Is it going to a museum, an archive? How are we making sure these are preserved?
So there are other organizations within Central America who are looking at protecting minority languages. But what was so interesting about the community where I was they had a bit how we have like with accents here. They change words, or they take words from other languages and use them. So it was also really interesting looking at how they used those. So the next stage is to make these books, take them back to the community, and then when the books are made themselves, then we'll be talking to different education authorities, different organizations, to see if we can take this project further and see if we can make more resources in those languages.
Outstanding. What I'd encourage all the students to do, especially if you're sort of over grade 6 age and sort of more for high school geared, Wade Davis is an author that's associated with all sorts of geographical societies around the world. He's published some really great books on other languages, other cultures, making sure we preserve them. So check out Wade Davis when you're done, and I'll pass along a link to that in the YouTube chat bar as well. All right. This is, I mean, we could go all day. I'll ask a few more quick questions and then we will wrap up with that. So in this especially sacred cave, the most sacred cave in the world, you highlighted bodies, you highlighted archaeological things. How big is this cave? What's in there? Like what could we find? Is there more to explore? What's going on?
So ATM, as it's also known, is protected by the Archaeological Institute in Belize. And only a certain number of people can go in there every day, and you need to have a tour guide with you as well. I've never explored the full extent of the cave, so I'm not 100% sure how big it is, but I know that if you go to Belize yourself, you will be able to go into that cave and you will be able to see these crystallized skeletons and these broken pots, these bloodletting pots. So yeah, it's not too far away. Maybe go and visit it.
When international flights resume, we'll all
exactly. I recommend going.
So, I mean, this place is a place that you know, people off the street can go and visit, but I always like highlighting the logistics of getting to some of these sites. So, to get from your home, how do you get to some of these places, and include everything from the time you walk out the door?
Okay. Well, I'll talk about the community I was staying with, because that was actually in a separate district to ATM. But there were qualities of the cave ATM which we could apply to where I was. So from here on the top of Wales, I have to get a coach. I then have to get all the way to the airport in London. I then have to get a flight to the US. I normally have to change 2 times, and then I fly to Belize, and then from Belize you have to get a bus. I think it was between 5 and 6 hours down south, and then you have to get a bus or a truck to the community where you're staying, which is about 2 hours away from the local town, and then you're there in the
Is
jungle.
that all?
That's all it took.
Oh, come on, give us a deeper story next time. Fantastic, Charlotte. I love this question too. Again, fantastic questions, whether it's our one class that I know the whole class is here, or other students. This has been really enriching questions, so thank you so much to all our YouTube viewers. Marie wants to know, have your expeditions changed the way you live your everyday life? Have you taken on any parts of the culture when you come back home?
I do eat a lot more tortilla. So the corn is very, very important to the Maya today, and the ancient Maya. It's one tradition that comes along, and what they do is they get this corn, they dry it, and they turn it into flour, and they make corn tortilla, and they have it with everything. So I do eat quite a lot of corn tortilla now. But I would also say it definitely has made me less materialistic. I definitely believe that life's more about experiencing new places, helping each other, being with your family. They're very, very family orientated over there. Yeah, so all those kind of things have changed me.
Very neat. And I think the subtitle for your next talk with us is I eat more tortilla. Thank you for that. That was glorious. Charlotte, before we wrap up, you've been highlighting this in various degrees throughout the entire talk today, but how do we encourage kids when they leave this session, they want to learn more about the work that you've done, they want to go on adventures of their own, what do we recommend to kids tuning in live?
So for me, education has been my my gateway to exploration in terms of archaeology and anthropology, and there's so many careers which allow you to go and explore. Geologists, biologists, conservationists. So definitely work hard at school and potentially look for a career in exploration. But also starting small is a really good step. If it's anything from going camping out in the woods or looking, watching more programs to see what other explorers have done. There's so many other opportunities.
Fantastic. So kids, check those out. Check out our YouTube page as well. You can learn from a lot of other really fantastic explorers like Charlotte. Get yourselves inspired. And again, as soon as international flights resume, we can all get in a plane and hopefully get a chance to explore some of these places firsthand. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us all the way from across the pond today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Bye for now and see you all soon, everyone.